try it again. Hey guys, welcome to our webinar on why we can't fight City Hall. Glad you guys are here, and hello to everyone watching the replay and the recording. I know some of you on watching the recording really wanted to be here but couldn't tonight, and so we'll put this together for you. I decided just sort of last minute to offer this because I have been seeing, I don't know what it is. It's like all of the legal and tax scams I've been seeing over the last few weeks, and it's driving me nuts. Too many people out there claiming to give legal advice and tax advice when they aren't licensed to do so, really shouldn't be doing so, and giving a lot of bad advice. And it's starting to piss me off, quite frankly. And you know, a lot of the bad advice seems to be based around the desire to give you guys magic bullets or magic pills, right? Or not tell you guys the way it really is. It's not honest advice. It's, hey, come work with me and look at my slick sales presentation, and I'm going to sell you this magic bullet that says that, you know, if you buy my magic thing and do it my way, then you can do anything you want, never get in trouble with the government, and you'll pay zero taxes legally and that kind of stuff. And that stuff's starting to bother me. And look, I can help you pay zero taxes legally. I'll tell you how to do it. Earn less money and spend more money. That's how you pay zero taxes legally. Okay. Paying lots of tax is the problem you want to have. Right? Paying lots of tax means you're making lots of money. It's great news. I'm not saying, you know, pay more than you need to, reduce your liability, right? And take advantage of all the other rules and regulations and all the areas of the law that can help. But don't fight the system, right? The system is what it is. There's no magic pill, there's no magic bullet. So I wanted to give you guys some honest advice about how this stuff works. All right, so, and actually because of the glitch, my PowerPoint is not quite up right, but that's all right. We will get that going. Come on now. All right. All right, I have to redo the full screen there. Okay, so yeah, again, why we can't fight City Hall and why we shouldn't even try when it comes down to it. I'm going to give you some honest assessment of how the law really works and how the government really works here, so that we're not falling for scams and magic pills and magic bullets that ultimately are just going to get us in more trouble and not help us out, right? But before we get started, and those of you that have been to my webinars before, you know this is common for me. I like to get in touch with how we feel, right? Because as much as we want to think that we are logical decision makers and great critical thinkers, ultimately, and some of you have been through my critical thinking class, you know that emotions play a big role of it. And it's better if we just accept that too. Right? So if you guys, you can either, you know, if you want to unmute yourself and shout it out, or if you want to drop it in the chat, when you think about the legal side of your business, what sort of emotions come up for you? And when you think about government regulations and rules, what comes up for you? Just, you know, don't think too hard, just what comes up. What are the emotions and feelings that come up for you guys?
Contraction.
Resentment.
Resentment, interesting. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere between apathy and overwhelm, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Even in this moment, I'm fluctuating between the apathy and overwhelm.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Hey. Billy, you've been with the government like me, different side of it, but yeah. Yeah, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so sometimes it can feel a little bit like this, kind of that overwhelm. It may feel that kind of like you're getting eaten by a tiger. But honestly, are those feelings, apathy, overwhelm, you know, resentment, negative feelings, are those feelings going to ultimately help us attract more positive stuff in abundance into our lives? Are they going to help us get into compliance? Right? Or like anything else, you know, the negative tends to bring more negative with it. Right? And so I'd rather that when we think about our businesses and the legal side and government regulations, that we're sleeping like a little kitten, that it's just, you know, we feel safe. We don't have to worry about it, right? Because we understand how it works. So we're in compliant. We're not worried. There's nothing to fear. And so you can sleep like a little kitten when you're thinking like that. And the problem is that this lack of legal knowledge, this lack of empowerment, you know, it leads to problems that we don't even know exist. And then those problems fester. And by the time we learn about them, it's often too late. right? By the time we learn that there's this law, that it applies to us, that maybe we've been skirting it a little bit, sometimes when you learn of that is when the government comes a knocking. And by then it's too late to fix it. You're already in trouble, right? And the most you can do at that point is just kind of keep the damage low, but you've already done something wrong. We get into this loop of anxiety and overwhelm. That stops us from taking action. It stops us from learning more. It stops us from changing our behavior, which then leads to more anxiety and more overwhelm, right? It's this nasty snowball. And because of that, we're not growing our business as fast as well as we could. We don't want to be visible, right? If we're worried about what the government's going to do, then we don't want to be visible because we don't want to attract unwanted attention. Well, if we can't be visible, we're not helping people. We're not growing. We're not on our mission. And then we're not in alignment with integrity, right? Because we're sitting around worried, am I breaking some rule? What's going on, right? And then, or our service. On the other hand, when we learn this stuff, when we gain the power of legal knowledge, we can eliminate problems before they get out of control. We're confident, we feel safe, we know that our clients can be safe, and that sort of relief is totally priceless. We're finding creative ways to grow and protect our businesses while being legally compliant. There are more than enough ways to do stuff legally. We don't have to do stuff illegally. There's lots of stuff we can do that's totally legal and totally okay, and be compliant and grow and protect our businesses that way. And then we're feeling in alignment too, right? When we're in alignment with the law, we're in alignment with service, we're in alignment with integrity. That's all part of our mission and attracting more into our lives. So today we're going to talk about why it's pointless to fight the government, at least in most cases, why a lot of the rules and regulations probably aren't as bad as you think, and why following the rules can help us grow and scale our businesses better. And then if you want to stick around, we can talk about the opportunity we have to get more honest guidance like this. Again, I'm not someone who's going to sell you on magic bullets with slick sales presentations. I'm going to tell you how things really work, because that's the only way I can really help you, right? And then we'll have some Q&A time if there's some questions too. So for those of you who are new, a lot of familiar faces, but some new folks as well. Again, my name's Ian Foster. I got my law degree from UC Davis well over 20 years ago now. The time flies. I'm still a licensed attorney in the state of California with an active legal practice. I had 2 decades of government service in multiple government legal departments. And so I've had a lot of experience auditing, investigating, prosecuting people and businesses who break the laws. And now my life of service is about taking all that knowledge and giving back with it to you guys. And just to do our quick disclaimer, again, I'm an attorney, so I have to do my little legal disclaimer. We should always have our little legal disclaimers on stuff like this. So this discussion is not legal services or advice. This is educational in nature only. This talk represents my own opinion and not necessarily anyone else's. I cannot guarantee any specific outcome or results. Of course, what you do with this information is what you do at your own risk, and just be respectful of one another. You're responsible for what you say, but also be respectful to what other people say. If you have questions, if you have comments, you can drop them in the chat. You can raise your hand and we'll try to address it. Go ahead and anytime you want, drop it in the chat and raise your hand. If I don't get to it right away, it's because I'm on a roll, but I'll get to it as soon as I can. And let's just make this a safe space for everyone. Remember, this is recorded for the replay as well. All right, so why is it pointless to fight the government? Well, first of all, and this is something not a lot of people consider, if the government comes knocking on your door to investigate you or audit you in some way, then they already have the information they need, right? They already know more than you think they do. The government does not, they have a lot of resources, but they don't have unlimited time and resources. So they try to focus down. They generally don't fight cases that they don't think they can win, right? They don't have enough time to go after the people they think might be doing something wrong. They are not going to waste time trying to persecute people they think might be innocent. So if they've already come a calling and said, hey, we think there's a problem here, we want to talk to you about it, it means they've already done their research and investigation. And they have a lot of different ways of doing this, right? So they already have the information. They already know more than you think they do. So don't think you can just stonewall or not cooperate or anything like that. It's not going to work. Next, a lot of these government auditors and attorneys are better than you think they are, right? Now, You may go to some attorney to represent you in a government investigation, and they might sell you a line. Oh, well, you know, I beat the government over and over, and these government people don't know what they're doing. No, it's not like that at all. I spent more than 20 years in different government departments, right? These government auditors, investigators, attorneys, those are highly competitive jobs that are difficult to get. They're the cream of the crop. These people know what they're doing, and they're there because they believe in the mission of what they're doing, because any one of them could triple their income overnight by leaving and going to the private sector, but they choose to stay with the government because they're good at it and because they believe in it, right? So they're not going to be some easy opponent who's easy to roll over. They're really good at what they do. Next, your free speech rights and your religious freedom rights aren't nearly as broad as you think. So these are common arguments that people make when the government comes knocking and wants to limit what they're doing somehow. You know, say, well, what I say to my clients is my free speech. Or it's my religious freedom because I teach spiritual things, or my niche is in spirituality, or this is part of my ministry, right? I hear this all the time. These arguments always lose in court, always, okay? Now, in your personal life, in your own personal life at home, dealing with your family and your friends, expressing your views, you have very broad free speech and religious freedom rights, at least in the United States. In your business, you don't have so many rights on that, right? So for example, you cannot use false advertising to attract clients. That's against the law, right? There's no free speech issue there. You cannot just tell your clients anything. If you're not a medical doctor, you can't give them medical advice. And you don't get to claim free speech or religious freedom. If you're not an attorney, you're not supposed to give your clients legal advice. Again, there's no free speech or religious freedom issue there. And I've seen lots of examples of people trying to claim free speech and religious freedom when the government tries to limit how they conduct business. It's not going to work, right? So don't think that that's a magic bullet. And there are people selling these as magic bullets. And finally, the government is the 800-pound gorilla. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they can punch longer and harder than you. They have the stamina. They can wear you down if you want to fight them. You might get in a few licks here and there, but ultimately they're going to get their punches in and they're going to be harder. And they can keep going, right? If you need to hire an attorney, someone like me to defend you, well, every hour I spend defending you costs you money. It doesn't cost the government in the same way to keep prosecuting you. Right? So they will win any battle of attrition. They can wear you down. Don't think you're going to wear them down. Right? So most of the time it's pretty pointless. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, I have a question, Ian.
Yeah.
It's this term government. You know, government is like a generality. You don't know what department it is. You don't know anything in detail. At Mr. Smith in the department of the IRS, then you know who to go to if you have a question. But who is that? Where is it? How do I contact it? So what could we do about that?
Well, when it comes to trying to contact the government, that's sort of you mean like if you're trying to find out what the rules are and how to...
Well, no, it's a terminology. Instead of saying the government, why don't we say the Department of the Treasury, Mr. Smith in the Department of the Treasury? Then you know who to contact if you have a question. But if they just say the government has said blah, 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 it doesn't, you don't know who to go to, what department or anybody like that. So it would be helpful to us lay people if they would be specific and say the Department of Defense or the Department of the Treasury or whatever, the IRS, and who in those departments is your contact. Then we could be more proactive and feel like we're being respected and probably do better all around.
Yeah, so I mean, when I talk about the government here, I just use that as a catch-all because there are dozens or hundreds of government departments and agencies all over the place, right? Depending on what country you live in, what state you live in. So I just use it as a simple catch-all here. if you're being investigated or audited, you'll know who it is that's doing it, because you'll get a letter and they'll say, this is my name, this is what department I'm with, this is my phone number, this is how to contact me. So if they come to you, you'll know who it is. They'll say who it is, and they'll be clear
Right.
about that.
Yeah. No, I wasn't looking at it that way, because that's right. You would know. I was looking at it like if a piece of legislation was passed and you wanted to get more details about it, and they just say Congress passed this, it's like, well, you need more information, to pursue getting the answer to your question. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it can be hard to know who to contact, right? I mean, some cases, like
Yeah.
if you hear if it's a tax thing, well, you figure I call the tax agency. But other
Right.
stuff, it can be hard to know. Am I talking to a Department of Consumer Affairs? Am I talking to a health department? Am I talking to some kind of building? I mean, it can be hard to know who to contact for sure.
Right.
And some governments are better about putting that stuff on the internet. Like the state of California that I worked for, it's California, it's a bit of a more tech savvy area. Their websites are pretty decent about providing information and providing you guidance and cross-referencing and stuff. The federal government, not so much. Other state governments, not so much, right? So now, Norma, you live in California, so fortunately in California, you kind of have our state government websites are a little bit easier to navigate than most, but not everyone is. And so,
Right.
they do expect the citizen to be a little bit proactive, because part of the problem from the government's point of view is when a new law is passed, they don't necessarily know everyone it's going to affect. Right? I mean, maybe it's a new law that affects the regulation of psychologists. Well, they have a list of all the licensed psychologists, they can send it to them. But it may be a more generally applicable law that affects lots of businesses. It can be hard to know where they should send information to on that.
I see.
Yeah. So it's, from the government's point of view, it's hard to know unless they're going to send it to everybody, but then most people are going to get pieces of mail that they didn't want.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's hard to know where to go for information. I get it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So then the next point I wanted to make is why a lot of these rules and regulations may not be as bad as you think anyway, right? Not something we necessarily have to fear that much. So some things to keep in mind. When it comes to tax laws, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, an old Supreme Court justice in the United States, said taxes are the price we pay for civilized society. Look, it's just the way it is. You want to live in such a civilized society with roads and schools and police and fire, you got to pay taxes for that, right? And as I said kind of up front, paying a lot of tax means you're making lots of money. So, taxes are not something to fear. It's not that bad. It's okay. Report the income you earn, take advantage of what you're allowed to reduce your liability. But ultimately, in the end, if you have a large tax liability and you're doing things right, that means you're doing really well. So it's not something to be afraid of. Don't limit yourself. Don't sabotage yourself. Don't hide because we're afraid of paying taxes. And then a lot of the important regulations that apply to businesses, we may or may not agree with them, but they're all kind of passed with the best of intentions by people who are trying to do some good. And they're not perfect, and they're going to make mistakes, and there's going to be unintended consequences, but that's just life, right? We live in a complex world. But they're passed with the best of intentions, and they're actually there to try and protect your clients and protect you. So things like you're not allowed to give medical advice. If you're a health coach or a healer or something, you're not supposed to treat conditions or make promises or give medical advice. Well, remember, that's there to protect your clients, right? And it's also there to protect you from getting bad advice from people who shouldn't be giving it. Same thing, if you're not supposed to give legal advice, well, that's protecting your clients. It's also protecting you. And the list of things you can do in your business is a whole lot longer than lists of things you cannot do. The restrictions really aren't that many. They can be important where they pop up, but ultimately the vast majority of things you do in your business all day long are not all that regulated. And it's just stuff you can go about doing and helping people. So rather than focus on things, if you learn something you're not supposed to do in your business, If there's a rule that restricts how you can help people, rather than focus on that, focus on all the other ways you can help people. Focus on the positive, focus on the way you can serve, and not about the few things you're not supposed to do. And another way it's not that bad, look, when you think of government employees, how many of you think of uncaring bureaucratic drones? Does that come to mind when you think of government employees, perhaps?
Used to, not anymore.
Used to. Versus, how many of you think of friendly, heart-centered people just like you? Look, I spent 20 years in government and I was fairly typical. Okay, I didn't think of myself as an uncaring bureaucratic drone. Now, maybe I had got a little cynical from time to time, like anyone in any work, right? But myself and all my friends and all the people I worked with, we were basically just friendly, heart-centered folks just trying to do the right thing. Now, why is this important? Because when it means that you're interacting with the government, just treat them like normal people. And remember, they're just like you. And it doesn't have to be that bad. Just cooperate, help them, and they're going to help you, just like anyone else in life. If you treat someone like an uncaring drone, they're going to act like an uncaring drone. If you remember that this is just a normal person, just like you, has a heart for service and is trying to do the right thing, then you don't really have anything to worry about. And then what about this notion that our business will actually do better if we follow the rules? Well, first of all, if you're not following the rules and you're getting investigated and defending yourself against various government audits or investigations, that is incredibly costly in time and money. It's a huge distraction from your mission. Right? So flaunting the rules, and there are people who out there who don't, now you guys are not going to flaunt the rules, or you wouldn't be on a webinar, or you wouldn't be on my list following my content in the first place. But people who completely flaunt the rules and don't care about it, it's a massive distraction from their mission and their business and their ability to earn money. Because defending yourself is super costly. Right? So just as one example, this is a redacted invoice that I sent to a client a couple of years ago. This is someone who this was a relatively simple defense in a government investigation where we were able to negotiate some reasonably favorable terms in the end, right? So this was something that had a reasonably good outcome. They broke some rules, we reached a settlement, wasn't that bad, okay? But look at how much I charged them in legal fees for that. For a relatively simple investigation, and it lasted almost a year. Do you have a year to deal with this and $9,000 to lay around to spend on an attorney to defend you in a relatively simple investigation that reaches a fairly good outcome? Right? So this is on the cheaper and the shorter side. But it's just showing you that if you're kind of flaunting the rules, if you're not paying attention to the rules, if you're attracting the government's attention because you're not paying attention to the rules, this is the sort of distraction in time and money that you're talking about. And wouldn't you rather spend that time working on your business and helping your clients? Wouldn't you rather spend that money on just about anything other than an attorney defending you in something like this? And defending yourself is also costly in emotional energy, because even if you're dealing with some fairly friendly people, even if it's not that adversarial, it still has this feeling of like a negative toxic soup. So just avoid it. It's too much of a distraction. Instead, remember that these laws, you don't have to agree with every law out there, right? None of us are going to agree with every law. That's fine. That's just the world we live in, right? We live in a world with people we disagree with that we still get along with, and we're going to agree with some laws, we're not going to agree with others. But basically, the laws we have to follow. We had another power glitch. I don't know where I was.
You were right on the point. You just said because, and I'm like, because why?
Because what? I don't see. Now I don't remember what that was, because sometimes when it cuts out, I don't know it's cut out for like 30 seconds.
Ian, you were saying how some of these people can be charged like 9,000. People don't have 9,000 to lie around.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so here, we can go back to that. Sorry about that. I don't know why the power is so glitchy. It's actually sunny out right now. The power stayed on while it was snowing, and now that it's sunny, it's glitching.
Yeah, you were on the first one there. Defending yourself is costly in emotional energy.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. So we saw kind of from the sample invoice, right, how you can easily spend $9,000 or $10,000 defending yourself in an investigation that's relatively short and cheap and comes out well, right? But it's also the emotional energy. It feels negative and toxic, even if it's not that adversarial, right? And that's all a distraction. And then remember that laws are, these are a social compact. We don't have to agree on all the laws. We live in a world with people we disagree with. There's laws we like, there's laws that we don't like. That's all fine. That's just part of living in society. But we do make this social compact with each other that we're going to follow the laws even when we don't necessarily disagree with them, right? Because we want other people to follow the laws we like. They want us to follow the laws they like. This is just part of our social compact together. And so stay in alignment with that, right? Stay in alignment with your integrity and just follow the rules. And when you get educated and you understand how the laws work and why they work the way they do, now the legal system is working for you, right? You don't have to work at loggerheads with the legal system. You don't have to butt heads with it. You can use the legal system when you understand how it works and why it works the way it does. It can be more like the wind in your sails, and it can help drive you forward. And knowledge is power. A lot of laws are there to benefit you. There are safe harbors that protect you. They're there to help you. So use that, right? And get over our legal anxiety. Fear of the law is sabotaging our business growth. Why? Because we don't want to be visible. If we're afraid of attracting attention, if we're afraid of the law, then we don't want to be visible. And it sabotages our ability to help people and grow. But if you're following the rules, you got nothing to worry about, right? All the time I hear people like, oh, but I'm terrified the government's going to come look at me for whatever. But why, right? You're not doing anything wrong. If you learn how the law works and you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. The fear is holding us back, whereas confidence and knowledge and power are going to drive us forward. We're going to thrive better. So learning to understand our legal system and start viewing it in more of a positive light as part of the structure that's here to help us grow, right? That positive energy brings more positive energy. We talked at the beginning how sometimes we have these negative emotional reactions to the law, the legal system, to thinking about the government and rules and regulations. Well, the negative energy brings negative energy. If we start viewing this stuff in a positive light, the positive is going to bring more positive. Realizing that a lot of the laws are there to protect you and use to your advantage. And a lot of the laws are there to protect our clients, right? And aren't our clients the very people we're here trying to serve? So we should not be resentful of laws that are protecting our clients. Our clients are who we're helping. If there's laws that protect our clients, that's great. Good for them. And there's just a lot of peace that comes with just accepting this and working within it. And again, using this as the wind at your back rather than trying to go into the wind all the time. And save your energy for the really important stuff. And again, being visible without fear. If you're not doing stuff wrong, if you're working within the law, if you're using the law as part of the framework that drives you forward, you can be visible and you don't have to worry about anything. Now, I'm not trying to say you should never, ever challenge the government, right? I mean, these are general rules. There might be times when you should challenge the government. I mean, there are people who file lawsuits to challenge laws, and that's how those laws get struck down, and it helps people. Just carefully choose your battles, right? Because fighting the government, it's going to eat up lots of your time. It's going to eat up lots of your money. It's going to eat up your emotional energy, and the vast majority of the time you're going to lose. So if you do decide that there's some rule or regulation in the government you don't like and you want to fight it, be very careful about which one you choose to fight and which one you don't, right? If you're going to pay that cost in time, money, and emotional energy, only pay that cost for something that's super important to your underlying value system and super important to you, and do it only where you have a chance of winning, right? Don't just fight every time you're annoyed with the rule, every time you don't like a rule, every time there's a law that you disagree with. Don't just fight all of them. If you're going to fight one, choose very carefully what you fight for, because it's going to be very expensive to fight and you're probably going to lose. So only choose the most important thing. Choose your battles very carefully. right? And of course, always consult with an attorney before you decide to do that. Don't do it willy-nilly. Any other questions? All right, so what do you do with this, right? How do we learn more about what laws apply to you? How do you comply with them? What are the steps you take to protect yourself and your clients? And how do you be more visible without how do you grow without that fear of legal trouble? Well, this is why I have my second Saturday legal workshop series, and a couple of you may have heard of this already, as this year we've already started some of these workshops. And these are really a chance to get unstuck and take action, right? My workshops are designed to be very practical, hands-on instruction on the most important legal and tax issues for service-based businesses. There's very useful knowledge and action items you can actually use, right? So we're not just throwing knowledge at you for no reason, but we're focusing this on people who want to take action, and it's very practical. We keep these affordable in terms of time and money, right? And so I've been moving away, away from the course format for some of my stuff and into this more workshop format, because I don't want you to have to spend thousands just to learn one subject on a course and then spend thousands more on the next course to learn the next thing. I'm going to keep it affordable. I don't want you to have to commit to 6 to 8 weeks of your time. I get for folks, that's harder and harder to do, to commit to 6 weeks for a course or 8 weeks for a course. And no daily homework where we're constantly watching recorded modules to learn this stuff, right? So again, I'm trying to make this very effective for you guys in terms of your time and your money and your energy. Get in, get out, learn what you need. It's going to be practical and useful. And so the workshops, I've been holding them on the second Saturday of every month. You're only committing to 3 to 6 hours at a time instead of weeks or months of your time. It's very hands-on, understandable instruction. It's not just a lot of knowledge that maybe you can use or not use and you have to sift through. And like I said at the front, you're always going to get from me this honest advice on how the law really works, right? These workshops are not going to sell you on magic pills and magic bullets when it comes to the law and taxes. We're going to learn how it actually works because that's practical, that's useful, that's actually going to help drive you forward. You get action items that make sense. And some of the workshops, some of them come with sample language, some come with checklists, and some of them come with spreadsheets. Again, practical, useful stuff, right? This workshop is a much more, as opposed to some of the courses out there, this is hands-on, this is practical, this is useful, this is focused stuff on important issues. So I've already been running these this year, and I've been loving doing these workshops. And so here's some of the more subjects that we have coming up for the rest of 2022. So this month in May, we're talking about social media and how it affects our clients' privacy and confidentiality rights. There's a lot of talk around social media and how it affects our privacy. There's quickly evolving areas of law and ethics when it comes to how our social media activity affects our clients' privacy, even in ways that we don't anticipate or think about. So this Saturday, actually in a few days, is the second Saturday in May. So that's coming up in a few days. In June, we're doing a legal workshop on events and retreats and how holding events and retreats, with the legal issues that come up with that, what sort of waivers and disclaimers do you need in place? What kind of contracts do you need with your clients? How do you protect yourself, protect your clients? What's the difference between virtual and event and live stuff? And how does that affect the legal issues that are involved? In July, we're going to talk about the issues of logic and evidence and business decision-making. I know it's not directly legal, but critical thinking, as many of you know, is one of the subjects that I teach. So we're going to do a little bit of a workshop on that. In August, we're going to talk about how to protect our content and our intellectual property, all the stuff we create. What are trademarks and copyrights? What are the language we can put in there to make sure that our content is not getting stolen? Then in September, we're going to talk about what do you do if you get sued or subpoenaed? Right? It's kind of like the Spanish Inquisition, the old sketch. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Well, nobody expects to get served with legal paperwork. You're getting sued or subpoenaed, and yet it's going to happen to thousands of people tomorrow who are not ready for it. And so we're going to talk about how you react and what you do if you get sued or subpoenaed, because the actions you take in those first few minutes, in that first 24 hours, can make a huge difference to the outcome. So it's better to understand what to do up front. In October, we're going to do the contract workshop, which I've run before and has been pretty popular and gets a lot of great response. We're actually going to get together for the day and write your own customized contract, learn how contracts work, and workshop through it together so you can actually get to work on writing your client contract. In November, we're going to talk about the legal issues related to affiliates and joint venture opportunities, right? When you promote other people's work, when they promote yours, usually for some sort of commission, although not always, what are the legal issues that come up with that? And how can we protect the arrangement for everybody? In December, we're going to do our business formation workshop. That's been another popular one that I've run before. How do you form and use your business entity properly? A couple of you have been through that one. This is stuff that is not taught very well in our society today, right? Whether it's your corporation, your limited liability company, whatever it might be, but how do you form it and use it properly to protect yourself and your clients? And then coming up in 2023, I have the first part of that planned out now. In January, we're going to do a workshop on setting our legal priorities for the year, building your legal protection scheme, protecting yourself, protecting your clients, making sure you're compliant. That is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to do. So how do we set the most important priorities for that upcoming year? In February, we're doing a workshop on client confidentiality. What are our obligations toward our clients' privacy and confidentiality? And how does that change depending on the niche we operate and how we serve people? And why is that so important? In March, we're going to do a tax filing workshop. That's more for the US folks, and that'll be just in time for the US tax filing deadline on making sure we get our taxes filed properly. And then in April is right now the last one, because I'm going to try and keep these scheduled about 12 months out in advance. So April, we're doing a workshop. I'm calling it Getting Paid. So what are your policies on payments, refunds, guarantees, that kind of stuff? How do you make sure that you're getting paid and doing it right in a way that's legal and fair to you and fair to your clients? So that's the Getting Paid workshops. So if you want to check them out, you can go to secondsaturdayworkshops.com. I can also drop that in the chat. Oh, and thanks for the compliment there, someone on the iPhone. Should need glasses for that. So secondsaturdayworkshops.com shows you the options. And there's a couple of ways you can do it, right? So some folks are kind of doing it, it's a la carte, you know, as they say in the restaurant industry. So you can pick and choose. You can enroll only in the workshops that are interesting to you the most, because some of the workshops may be a big deal to you and really apply to what you do, and some may not, and that's okay. So if you want to do it a la carte, scroll down the page and just click on the links and enroll in advance for the workshops that you want that are most important to you, and that's totally fine. The other way to do it, you can do a 12-month package. For those who just want to get all of the workshops, you can save nearly 40% and just enroll in the next 12 upfront, and then you get access to all of them. And all of the workshops are recorded, right? So whatever you enroll in, you'll get the recording of the workshop and you'll get whatever material. And so then if you roll the 12-month package, you get access to all 12. You can show up live, or you can get all the recordings, you can get the material, right? But I'm doing the package. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate it. Right. I'm doing the package deal because I had some people who are like, how do I just do all of them? Right. I don't want to have to pick and choose. So you can either do it a la carte, do the ones you want, or just enroll in all 12 of them. Right. So if you do the a la carte enrollment, again, just scroll through the page there, choose the workshops you like. Right now, there are links that will let you enroll in everything for the rest of this year. The links to enroll in the 2023 workshops are not quite up yet, so I'll be getting those up. But right now you can enroll in everything for the rest of this year. So if you want to do the a la carte, just scroll through and choose the ones you want. Most of the workshops are only $197, right? So again, this is trying to keep this very affordable for you in terms of your time and your money. You're not committing to weeks or months. You're not committing to thousands of dollars at a time and then thousands again, right? You could just pick a workshop, sign up for $197, commit to a few hours, get in, get highly focused instruction on the specific subject you want that's very practical and hands-on, and then get on with it, right? So most of them are only $197. A handful of them are $497. So the October, December, and March workshops are $497, and I do that because those ones dig deeper. Those ones are going to last a little bit longer. There are a few extra hours, so it's more closer to a full day rather than a half day. And they come with a lot more resources and samples and checklists and spreadsheets, and they take a deeper dive. So that's why a few of them are extra. If you want to do the 12-month package, you can save a lot of money, right? So if you were to just enroll in the next 12 all individually, you clicked on 12 links and enrolled 12 times, you're going to pay $32.64 total, over $3,200, right? But you can save a lot by enrolling just in all 12 up front. So you can get access to the next 12 workshops for one payment of $19.97, which is like getting 6 of the 197 workshops for free, basically. It's like getting half of them for free almost, if you just enroll in all 12 up front. Or if you prefer to spread it out, you can do 12 payments of $197, right? So if you don't want to pay for it up front. Yeah, so you're on vacation to July, so that's why I'm recording them, right? And so again, if you sign up for the 12-month package, you'll get it recordings to all 12 of them, plus all the material for all 12 and everything as well. If you want to do it a la carte, you'll get the recordings and the material for just the ones that you want to sign up with. And again, the next one is this Saturday in a few days. We're talking about the issue of social media and how it affects our client confidentiality, which is a sort of this interesting evolving area of law and ethics when it comes to the service industries, and a lot of stuff people haven't been thinking about there. So that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions about anything we talked about today or about the upcoming workshops?
Yeah, I have a question, Ian. So let's say I bought March's workshop. How long do I have access to that afterwards? How much, or just that one day?
So you'll keep access to the recording, right? So you get a link to the recording and you keep ongoing access to it.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So, and a couple of you actually qualify for some discounts. So you have to watch your email tomorrow. You'll be getting some codes because, yeah. So watch that.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a question. I've got a question, Ian.
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, the word misinformation is a big word lately. And when you mentioned, you know, false advertising at the beginning of your presentation here, there's a plethora of people out there that are offering programs for helping people get into the coaching business, which is a burgeoning business.
Yeah.
And I happened upon one in an email that was sent to me where they were going to teach you how to make a whole bunch of money in a short amount of time, you know, 10, 20, $30,000 in 10 or 15 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And what struck me was in the body of the email, the person suggested, well, is this about marketing? And no, not really. It's not really about marketing. And then later down in the email was presented the testimonial of Lucille Ball, I'll call her, who said she made $100,000 in 5 days without any marketing. And I thought to myself, without any marketing, that's pretty good if you can do that. And so I'm just, you know, if you have any comments about things like that show up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that. You know, it's some of it's and false advertising is tricky, right? So false advertising against the law, but what we call marketing puffery is not against the law. And there's no bright line between the two. You're allowed to engage in marketing puffery. You're not allowed to engage in false advertising. And where's the line? I don't know, right? And so often that's why you'll see the fine print that's like, you know, past results are not indicative of future performance, and these testimonials are not typical results. And sometimes in the fine print, you'll read stuff like that because they're trying to get away from saying false advertising. But your gut instinct to say this sounds too good to be true is probably right on, right? I mean, listen to that gut instinct. You know, so for example, and some of you who have followed my content on social media and in my email list know that recently I attended a webinar by another so-called tax expert, right? I was a government tax attorney for a long time. So I'm always interested to see what people are doing to talk about taxes and how right? So, and this tax expert, and you know, she said, what I do is I help people pay zero taxes legally. And my clients are all, you know, high six-figure, seven-figure businesses. And I'm thinking, they're all paying zero taxes legally? That doesn't make any sense. You know, so it's that sort of marketing puffery. It's that too good to be true. Look, if you're making $500,000 and paying zero tax, that means you're also paying out $500,000 and you got no profit left over. There's only so many ways to do these things legally, right? And so it's anytime you hear that too good to be true, magic pill sort of solution, you know, your gut kind of comes up and says, hang on, be a little bit skeptical and ask questions, and that's a good thing.
Is there somewhere where there's a source of discussion on the difference between marketing puffery and false advertising? Is there any sources where one can kind of dive into that a little deeper?
Probably, I would Google it, right? It's not necessarily my area of law that I practice, but there are lawyers who do practice that and write articles on it. So I would Google it and see what you come up with.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything else? Any other questions?
I just want to make a quick comment to what he said. You know, if somebody tells you you can do something in 5 days, and your common sense should tell you that you can't learn a skill in 5 days. I don't care who you are. You can learn a lot about it and fake it till you make it, but right there is a big red light, like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's what struck me is that, you know, perhaps this woman actually did make $100,000 in 5 days, but she did an awful lot of marketing before that in some form or another. She didn't just jump off the bus and there it was, you know.
Yeah, it might be literally true that she had $100,000 in gross receipts in those 5 days, but you're right. Maybe her business was already established and running, and that's when the launch was. Yeah, who knows, right?
But that seems to be hanging out the bait there in a way that's you know, not very honest.
Yeah, you know, and testimonials are tricky, right? I mean, look, I know that all the testimonials that I put out are from real clients of mine who gave me permission and they really said those things. I know that, but when you read them, you have no way of knowing that, right? Because it's not like I'm going to give you their phone number to call them up and verify it. You know, that would be a violation of my client's privacy. So it's always hard to know when you're reading other people's testimonials, how much of it's real and how much of it's not. You know,
Well,
at some
why
point,
couldn't he?
Oh,
Why
sorry.
couldn't he? I'm sorry, just real quick. Why couldn't he contact her and then directly ask her whatever questions he has?
Well, how would you do that, right? I mean, so let's say, you know, Norma, I put out something you say as a testimonial to try and get more people to buy my programs. Do you want, now maybe you do, you know, maybe you wouldn't mind, right? But I don't put your phone number out there with that for people.
No, but you're the one who said it, like she said it and he read it. She probably has a website. You could send an email and say, I'd like to talk to you personally for a minute or two. You know, may I have a contact for you? And then if she's aboard, she'll do something positive.
Yeah, it depends on what sort of information they give, right? So I usually don't give enough information that somebody could figure out how to contact the person.
I think you're talking cross purposes. Norma's talking about talking to the person that proclaimed the test and shared the testimonial rather than the person that gave the testimonial.
Oh, is that what you, yeah, I may have misunderstood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the email, just hit reply and say, I'm a bit dubious about this. Can you just tell me a little bit more about this to the person selling the thing? Is that what you meant, Norma?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. See, I misunderstood. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, you could totally do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also relatively easy to stalk Like if you've got a full name, and I know often you just got first names, Ian, which
Mhm.
helps preserve the privacy. You can generally stalk people if you've got a full name, and but it also depends on how did they do it. I can think of lots of ways to make $100,000 with no marketing in 5 days, but they're not ways that I'm going to be able to do, and I not at the business level to be able to do it. Which there's a whole lot of other factors involved. So it's possibly an accurate claim, but it's not necessarily the way that it's also possibly an inaccurate claim, just to be clear, it could go either way. But it's not necessarily how we want to do it. In the same way that you can pay no taxes, it's not necessarily how we want to do it. Certainly, and the claim, pay no taxes legally, like you say, they've got to get rid of all of their profits to be able to do that. And if you want to live on, I imagine you've got a income-free threshold in the US, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty low.
But I was going to say, but I imagine it's also like, yeah, you couldn't live off ours, but if all you earn is within that tax-free threshold, you can earn money and not pay taxes, but it's not what you want to live off.
If you're an individual in the United States, you can earn something like $12,500 and not pay taxes on it. Well, super. You can't even hardly buy
now can you
groceries
live off? I was
mean,
gonna say, now go and live off $12,000. Yeah. Yeah, so there's ways to do it. Are we gonna, I mean, because you could have the $12,000 and you could have your own fields and grow your own plant, but like, are you going to go to that level? And so, yeah, there's ways to do it, but it's not.
There are ways to get it up. There are different things you could take advantage of, non-economic deductions, and generate some losses legally. There are different ways to keep your tax liability low, but ultimately, if you're earning the kind of living you want to earn, so that you're not worried about money, you can travel when you want, you can eat what you want, you have all that freedom, you're going to be paying tax on that. It's just, that's just how it works.
But Ian, they say like I think it's the 2% of high income people, they don't pay any taxes. You hear that all the time because they have all these write-offs.
Yeah, they pay well, it depends on how you look at it, right? They pay a lower percentage of their income as tax than a lot of middle class people. But in terms of absolute amount, they write what we would consider very large checks to the government. Now, there are a handful of mega wealthy people who don't pay any tax because all of their wealth is in company stock and they borrow against the stock. And the amount you borrow is not taxable income. And then you figure, well, my kids can pay it back after I'm dead. That's how they get away without paying tax.
Oh.
So
at some point, the government's still going to get its cut, though.
Yeah, the government's still eventually, because eventually the stocks can get sold. Eventually, tax gets paid on that, just not by them during their lifetimes. Somebody pays it down the road, right? They're pushing it off, right? If you have $100 billion in Amazon stock, you can borrow a lot of money against that stock because the bank always figures if you don't pay it, they'll just go grab the stock.
What about if they have offshore investments? Now the government's getting better at tracking that, but before they could do that, that was a great way they showed less of an income.
It was. A lot of that stuff is illegal. And like you said, the government's doing better at tracking it down. Yeah. There are some legal ways to do it, but a lot of it's completely illegal. So that's when we talk about doing it legally, right? There are lots of illegal ways to pay no tax, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'd rather, to me, that's not in alignment.
More than the tax.
Well, yeah, no, definitely. And the people I used to prosecute for that stuff, when we caught them, they're paying back the tax, they're paying interest, and they're paying penalties. And by the time they're done with it, plus their attorneys, they're paying triple than what they would have just paid if they'd paid the tax in the first place.
I said to my daughter the other day, she'd lied to me about something. I said, you will always get caught. It might take me 20 years to find out, but I will. It's the same kind of thing. It's just, and I mean, there's stuff my kids get away with, and I was being quite deliberately harsh with her. I won't always know. I won't always catch it. Is the truth of it. But the government will, and if they do find out the consequence, do you want to take that risk with the consequences? Yeah,
and like I said, the government knows more than you think they do, right? So a lot of this cryptocurrency stuff is a great example. A lot of people are trying to hide their money and their assets and do money laundering through cryptocurrency, thinking it's some sort of privacy tool. No, the government has cracked it, right? If you invest in this stuff through cryptocurrency, all you've done is left a trail of breadcrumbs right to your crime. And the government is shutting down organized crime all over the place by tracing the cryptocurrency, right? They have supercomputers and they hire kids from MIT to program them. You're not going to fool them.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. But it's no, they've shut down a lot of, they're shutting down like sex trafficking and slavery and a lot of nasty stuff by tracing the cryptocurrency to the really bad folks.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at some point, and it does take the government a little while to catch up with it sometimes, because like you say, they've got limited resources. At some point, they're going to catch up with it though, no matter
Yeah.
what it is. At some point, it's going to come out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone. I'm glad you joined me for my little impromptu webinar today.
Yeah, it
Thank
was
you. I
good.
like your rant.
Yeah, I'm on a rant right now.
It's a
about-
well-deserved rant.
I'm seeing too many of these scams, right? And a lot of these people are, you know, they claim to be legal experts and tax experts. Some of them are even attorneys, and it bugs me that they're, you know, they're not interested in helping you. They would rather sell you a magic bullet. And to me, that's just not okay. You know, and in my mind, if I'm not telling you honestly how this stuff works, then I'm not helping you. And what's the point, right?
Well, that's not what they have in mind. They have money, money, money in mind.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So cool.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good to see
Yeah.
you guys as always. Take
Thank
care.
you,
Yeah.
Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye.